When you think of legacy, what do you think of? Do you think of Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street, who builds this empire of... Okay, no, I've never seen it, I'm not going to lie. But he's this rich guy, right? And he seems to have it all. Probably. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe this is a bad analogy. But the point is, when you think of legacy, do you think of material goods, material possessions that you want to get? You want to get your dream car. You want to have a lovely house. You want to have your dream partner, right? But what if I told you it's going to be so much easier to achieve this and so much more fulfilling if you're just kind? Would you believe me? Probably not. And we're going to dive into that. Recently, I had a conversation with a very close friend of mine about legacy. You know, what we want to leave behind when we're gone, how we want to act while we're here. And like you, probably, I have always thought of legacy in that materialistic way. You know, making something, making art or anything like that which outlives me and that, you know, can financially support me. And to me, being able to have that was what I considered winning in life. So when my friend asked me what I want my legacy to be, you know, I reeled off the standard, I'd like to create something that outlives myself, is bigger than me, and that I can have financial freedom and a comfortable life. And once I'd stopped reeling off all of these big ideas, I was surprised when she said, I just want to be kind. And in the moment, I think I was quite taken aback, because something so small, how could that be your whole life goal, to just be kind? And since that conversation, it's really made me reconsider what it means to be successful in life, right? Now, before I was thinking about all these materialistic goals, but now I realize that just being kind on an everyday basis to total strangers is probably the most fulfilling legacy that one can have. Now, truthfully, I've never had any idea what I've wanted to do with my life. I'm 21 now, and I graduated from university a few months ago, and so I've sort of launched myself into the real world. And it's very intimidating for obvious reasons, not knowing how you want to spend your life. And at my busiest moments, there's nothing I want more than a quiet, simple life. But at my slowest, I long to just go out into the world and experience everything that it has to offer. I often find myself envying those who seem to just have everything mapped out, you know. They've wanted to be a doctor since they were 5 years old, and everything in their life up to now has been steps to achieving that goal, you know, going to school to be a doctor, going into work to train, and etc. I don't really know the path, as you can probably tell, but I've always envied that because it seems so simple, right? I mean, you effectively are born and straight away you're like, okay, that's my calling. And for a while I've thought that they have it all. They're just fundamentally different to who I am. And who I am is just someone that's lost, doesn't know what they want to do. Whereas these guys, they know exactly what they want to do, and they're ready to commit to their life in one career with unwavering confidence and no self-doubt at all. And their life is going to be amazing and stable and everything they've ever wanted. Now, of course, this is completely wrong. Of course, these people experience doubt about their career, just in the opposite way to what I feel. You know, they're probably constantly thinking, I've been working towards this path for years. Is it right for me? But in the rare moments that I acknowledge this and understand this, I quickly dismiss it, because, you know, it's so much easier to cling to the idea that just the way you're wired is wrong, and that those guys just have it better than you. It's so much more comforting to think that. It's so much more comforting to cling on to the idea that I simply must have it harder for whatever reason. Now, we're constantly shown in media that we should be living extravagant lives, that anything human is not worth our time, which, by the way, our time is infinitely more valuable than those around us. I think a capitalist society forwards this idea that if we're not living selfishly, then we're not living at all. If we're not pursuing the next career goal or getting as much money as we possibly can, no matter the cost, then what's the point? And we're shown this through the everyday facets of our lives, whether it's through media or seeing the guy in the street who's in a suit and seems to have it all. He's the highest paid in his company. The American dream. But we're rarely, if ever, shown the cost of pursuing these goals. You know, the alienation of those around you as you're just in your own world trying to climb to the top. And even when shown acts of kindness in the media, whether it's in a film or a TV show or whatever it might be, it's always kindness with an ulterior motive. It's always the main character doing a good deed for someone, but secretly in the back of their head with a goal that maybe down the line they can help them out. And that's purely the motivation behind them doing this good deed. And so I think it's important to define kindness. You know, there's a big difference between being nice and just being kind. I think being nice is doing a good deed, but with the expectation that something good might happen for you in the future. You know, doing this good deed will benefit them down the line. Whereas I think kindness is a good deed without any expectation. Just doing a good deed because you want to, or, you know, you see someone in the street and they look sad or they look like they're struggling, right? And when I say kindness, that is what I mean. Just the act of doing a selfless deed because it's the right thing to do, right? Now, for some personal context, I studied economics at university, and since graduating a few months ago, I've been trying to consciously unlearn these ideas that you should want to screw over your peer just to advance a little bit in your own career. And 3 years of being taught the best ways to do this, the best ways to get one over on your peer and, again, win at life, right? And learning that has been a process, and it's definitely tough because it's so, even before doing this degree, even before going into education, this idea is ingrained into you, right? And of course, I am being facetious about economics just being a field where your only aim is to screw over the people around you. But, I mean, I think there is some truth to it, because most of my course mates have since gone on to graduate jobs in finance or investment banks or hedge funds, where the pure business model is just to gamble with people's lives, essentially. And the sole aim is to extort the average guy as much as possible. But I'm not bitter. Definitely not. I'm not bitter that I'm horribly unemployed right now. No way. Never me. And I think this idea being ingrained in us is the reason that my friend's answer caught me so off guard. You know, how can someone's whole life goal just to be kind? So, in true scientific fashion, I put it to the test. And since then, I've made it my mission to be kind in my everyday life, whether it's talking to the barista who's making my coffee, or trying to make genuine conversation with a stranger, or, you know, buying a sandwich for the unhoused guy on the street. And showing genuine interest in those around me has honestly enriched my life tenfold. I mean, it's so much easier to connect with people when, you know, you're showing genuine interest, and in a conversation when you're listening not just to reply, but to genuinely understand and to feel what they're saying. And I've always struggled in social situations. I'm quite shy, I'm quite an anxious person, and never really knew what to say. And I think in conversations, especially with strangers, I would be constantly thinking, what do I say next? I need to keep this conversation going. And then when you're in your head like that, you're not really listening to what they're saying. And as a result, the conversation is meaningless and it's pointless because you haven't really connected. And so, going back to the idea of listening to understand rather than listening to just reply, I think that's so important to foster human connection, and I think it's a huge act of kindness that you can do to take some time out of your day, to take some effort out of your schedule, to genuinely understand the person that you're talking to. But anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. The point is, I've made it my goal over the last few months to be genuinely kind to people without expectation of any sort of reward. And I'm aware that right now I very much sound like an Onion headline. You know, local economics graduate discovers empathy, results shocking. But I really do believe that, for me personally at least, I've really been neglecting this human side of me. And it sounds insane to say, right? But I think it's such an easy trap to fall into in such a busy world where everything is going on, and it's so easy to just want to tune the world out for a few minutes while you're walking down the street, put your headphones in, blast your music. But by doing that, you're not really taking in the world around you, and you're kind of shutting off your chances to make a connection. You know, you might meet someone that could be your friend. You might meet someone that you can take some great advice from, you know? And I say this, but I am absolutely guilty of I love to walk around with my headphones in and just shut out the world. But I'm working on it, you know? And that's all we can do. And when I say kindness, I also mean self-kindness. There's a great channel on YouTube called the Dry Creek Wrangler School. And Dwayne, who makes those videos, he said that if you can't be kind to yourself, then you're not going to want to be with yourself. And to expand on that, if you can't be kind to yourself, you know, your only forever companion, the only person that you're always going to have, then you're not going to want to be kind to other people. And self-kindness, I think, it kind of goes without saying, but it will make your life experience so much more fulfilling, so much more pleasant, if you can just be genuinely kind to yourself. And I think back to times when I haven't been kind to myself, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they're also the times that, you know, I've most yearned for external validation. But in that way, the cycle continues where if you're not kind to yourself, then you're not going to be kind to other people, but you also simultaneously want that external connection. But when you're not kind to these people, they're not going to want to be with you either. And so the cycle continues. It's just a vicious cycle of loneliness. The point I'm trying to make, right, is that just being kind will enrich so many aspects of your life. I mean, I've already spoken about social situations, you know, being kind to the other person that you're in the conversation with and listening to genuinely understand. But also I think that being kind to yourself in that situation also involves giving yourself the grace to just step back and think, I don't necessarily have to think of the next best thing to say. I don't have to be that guy in the party that seems to constantly have a conversation going and it seems so effortless. I don't have to be that guy. I can just stand back and let the other person talk and genuinely understand. And then the reply will come naturally. And so self-kindness in a social situation, at least, it's doubly effective because you're listening to the other person genuinely, and you're also giving yourself the grace to just be able to relax into a conversation. And it's just as simple as that, really. But anyway, that's all I have to say really on kindness, and you know how important it is to be genuinely kind in our lives. And you know, I'm 21 years old. I don't have the answers at all, but just some thoughts on this wonderful Thursday morning in a park, touching grass. And so with that, I guess I'd just like to sign off. Thank you for watching, and I hope that some of this video has resonated with you, and I hope that in your day-to-day life you can show some kindness to those around you, because I think it's so easy to just get caught up in our own worlds. So yeah, thank you for watching, and be kind, get outside today if you can, and talk to your barista, because you never know what might happen. And like you probably, these flies are fucking with me.